So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time. Needless to say this, you have to make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, a daily habit. Daily coverage of current affairs is important. And please do not forget to revise the lecture just after watching it, okay? Because revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Alright, so make sure you do these things and we will quickly jump into the lecture. So let's start our today's discussion, okay? So daily current affairs, 28th August, Thursday, and here is the topics list, okay? We need to take care of, or we need to take a look at the topics that we are going to cover today. So topics to be covered. Number one, we are going to talk about PM-SVANidhi scheme. The scheme was launched by government to help street vendors. So recently the government has decided to extend this scheme till 2030. So we will talk about the basics of this scheme, okay? Then, well, a recent report has been published that says that deforestation in tropical areas, okay? Cutting of forest, especially in tropical areas, not other areas, just tropical areas, has contributed a lot towards global warming and has caused a lot of heat wave-like situation, okay? Heat wave events in the tropical areas and many people have died because of it. So yes, deforestation is bad overall, but it's especially bad in tropical areas. We'll talk about this, okay? Then the third topic is with respect to Guinness World Records, okay? So Guinness World Records, you all know about this. Any world record that is broken is mentioned in Guinness World Records, okay? So it has completed 70 years. So we'll talk in brief about this, okay? And in the end, we'll talk about a very important issue that is currently taking place in USA, but it affects Indians a lot because many Indians who go to America for work take H-1B visa. But many people from Donald Trump's party are saying that we need to stop this visa altogether. It's a scam, it's a fraud. They're villainizing H-1B visas, okay, which affect Indians. So we'll talk about H-1B visas as well. Alright, so these are the four topics that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one, starting with PM-SVANidhi scheme. Okay, now about PM-SVANidhi scheme. So you need to hear about this clearly, okay? You all know about lockdowns, right? During COVID-19 induced pandemic, well, there was this lockdown-like situation. Now lockdowns affected everyone, but they specifically affected street vendors who sell minor things on streets. Street vendors, you all understand what street vendors are, who street vendors are, okay? They had to return to their villages, to their places, right? They couldn't do business anymore, clear? It really affected them. So to support them, basically, so that they can sustain their business even during this terrible time, well, government launched PM-SVANidhi scheme in 2020, okay? Under this scheme, well, government would have provided them with collateral-free loans so that they have enough working capital to sustain themselves, okay? So collateral-free loans were provided to them that could sustain them throughout the period of lockdown, and once the lockdown ended, they could return back to their businesses. That was the whole idea. Now, the scheme worked so well that even after the lockdown, even after this lockdown, government continued with it. And now the government has decided to continue with it till 2030. That was the success of this scheme, okay? So let's talk about this scheme, okay? And its benefits as well. So PM-SVANidhi scheme. So what was in the news? So the Union Cabinet approved the restructuring of PM-SVANidhi loan scheme for street vendors, extending it till March 31st, 2030, okay? Plus, they have also decided to restructure this scheme, okay? Under this scheme, street vendors were eligible for loans in 3 tranches, okay? First tranche was loans up to 10,000. Then the second tranche was loans up to 20,000. And the last tranche was loans up to 50,000. So what the government has done is, government has increased the limit of this first tranche to 15,000, second tranche to 25,000. And yes, they have kept 50,000 limit on the third tranche as it is. But what they have done is, you know what? These street vendors were given cashbacks. You all understand cashbacks, okay? They were given financial incentives by the government if they conducted digital transactions, if they accepted digital payments, if they paid money through digital payments, right? If they paid money digitally to their vendors, okay, from where they get their stuff. Well, if they use digital transactions, they were eligible for cashbacks. Government has increased the limit of that cashback to 1600 also. Okay, so all in all, the government has decided to extend it, restructure it, and by restructuring, government has increased the amount of benefits that street vendors would get. Clear? But now let's talk about what was this scheme, key features of this scheme originally, okay, when it was launched in 2020. So PM-SVANidhi scheme, it was a special microcredit because these loans are small, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. That is why we call them microcredit. So special microcredit facility launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in 2020. So remember this ministry. PM-SVANidhi scheme is under Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It offers collateral-free working capital loans for street vendors in tranches, and I have just mentioned those tranches to you, okay? Another benefit of this scheme is, look, you are eligible for first tranche, 10,000, up to 10,000, which has been extended to 15,000. If you pay this first tranche through timely installments, then you are eligible for second tranche. And if you pay back through timely installments, then you are eligible for third tranche. Okay, so you have to pay back this loan timely, through timely installments, only then you are eligible for subsequent tranches. One more thing, if you are paying back this loan through timely installments, you are also eligible for interest subsidy. Okay, 7% of your interest rate would be cut off. This is known as interest subvention. So provides an interest subsidy of 7% per annum. But there is a condition. Only if you pay back on time. Okay, so this was there. Beneficiaries were street vendors, hawkers and others in the informal urban economy. So informal workers in the urban economy, all of them were eligible for PM-SVANidhi. Now, why did the government decide to extend this scheme? Obviously, the scheme was giving us a lot of benefits. What were those benefits? Number one, financial inclusion, because all these informal workers were now eligible for financial loans from banks, right? For that, they would have to open their bank account. Basically, this aided in the process of financial inclusion. Okay. Earlier, these informal workers were dependent on informal credit from money lenders and all. Now they are eligible for formal credit, so financial inclusion. It definitely promotes livelihood because there are so many street vendors in our urban spaces. Okay. Third, digital empowerment. Remember, government is giving them cashback, incentives for digital transactions. So it gives a boost to our digital economy. Then it promotes entrepreneurship and self-reliance, right? Plus, do you know this scheme got an award? That award was Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration. It got an award for Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration. So this scheme was successfully implemented. And because of its success, government has decided to extend it. Clear? So these are the benefits of this scheme. And that's about it. That's all you need to know as far as this scheme is concerned. And we shall quickly shift our focus to second news item, and that is deforestation in tropical areas. Now listen to me carefully. You see, you know what? Deforestation is causing or is one of the biggest contributor towards global warming. How so? Well, these forests have trees. Yes, and trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis. You all know about photosynthesis, right? Plants absorb carbon dioxide and emit oxygen. Quite the reverse of respiration that we do, right? So basically, these forests act as very good sinks for carbon. They absorb carbon, and that is why they are generally being touted as something that can reduce global warming, because the more forests we have, the less less would be carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But we are not planting more forests. There is very little afforestation that is going on. In fact, we are moving towards very quickly moving towards deforestation. Now, what happens with deforestation? Well, first of all, you are reducing the capacity of forests to absorb carbon. That is why the carbon levels in our atmosphere, well, they're rising, which is causing global warming, right? Number two, when you cut these forests down, okay, or when you burn these forests down, well, the carbon stored by these plants gets emitted back to the atmosphere. So it contributes fresh carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That is also further accentuating the problem of global warming. Yes. The third thing, forests are everywhere in the world, but especially in tropical areas, forests are particularly rich. They are very rich forests, okay, very dense forests. Deforestation in tropical areas is contributing more towards climate change and global warming than deforestation in other areas, temperate regions. Okay, deforestation in tropical areas is more harmful than deforestation elsewhere. Plus, this deforestation has not only contributed towards global warming, it has increased the intensity and frequency of heat wave events in these regions. Heat wave, which happens during the summers, and we all are familiar with it, right? Heat wave events have intensified and their frequency has also increased, which has caused a lot of deaths. Now, the question is, why deforestation in tropical areas is basically contributing towards heat wave events and global warming? Let's talk about these specific reasons, specific causes. Okay. So deforestation in tropical areas. So what was in the news? Deforestation induced warming caused an extra 28,000 deaths per year in tropical regions between 2001 and 20 in 20 years. This study was called Tropical Deforestation is Associated with Considerable Heat Related Mortality. It was published in the journal Nature. Okay. Now, what are the reasons behind this? Okay, why deforestation in tropical areas especially is problematic? You see, tropical regions have rich forest wealth. They are dense forests. Okay, that is why these dense forests absorb a lot of carbon. Now, these tropical forests, naturally speaking, are found in tropical regions. Which tropical regions are famous for these forests? Okay, South America, Africa, and Asia. And they are one of the biggest storehouses of greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide. They store carbon. But when you cut them down, it releases a lot of carbon back into the atmosphere. Okay, the biggest fallout is that deforestation releases stored carbon into the atmosphere, mainly as carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas which is contributing towards global warming. Then, one more thing. Why reduced forests, or let's use the proper term, why deforestation is increasing heat wave like events? Because you see, when you are close to trees, when you're close to forests, or when you are in a forest, well, forests or trees have a cooling effect. Even if the sun is shining bright and high during summers, forests have a cooling effect. And that is because plants conduct this process called transpiration. So plants absorb water from the soil and release it as water vapor. This water vapor has a cooling effect in the nearby areas. So heat wave events are considerably reduced. But now you have cut down these forests, so transpiration is not happening at a scale that we were used to, and that is why heat wave events have accentuated, increased in frequency as well as intensity. Okay, and other problems with respect to deforestation, for local biodiversity is getting harmed. Many plant species and animal species who are dependent on these forests, they are becoming extinct. Global climate, hydrological cycle, because these plants, these forests, well, they absorb surface water, and because of these plants, this surface water percolates into the ground as groundwater. This hydrological cycle is getting disturbed. Human communities who are dependent on this forest wealth, they are getting harmed. So these are the other harms. Now, what are the causes behind deforestation itself? Why is deforestation rising? Okay. So number one, why tropical forests are being cut? First of all, agricultural expansion. You all know population is rising, and because of this high population, increased number of people, you have to feed these increased number of people. So there is more demand for food items as well as other non-food agricultural crops. So agriculture is expanding, and agriculture requires land. That is why you are clearing these forests and sowing crops on them. So agricultural expansion is one contributor towards deforestation. The other is cattle ranchers, cattle ranching. Okay, so these animal rearing communities, these cattle ranchers, they prefer grasslands over forests because cattle feeds on grasses. So you clear the forest, grasses grow on it, and then you rear cattle. Okay, so cattle ranchers, cattle rearing is one cause, especially in South America, not so much in India, but in South America. Okay, Brazil, Argentina, all these places. Argentina is more temperate, but Brazil, Ecuador and all, Venezuela. Then commercial crop plantation agriculture, tea plantations, they also clear forests. Banana plantations, banana not so much because banana is a tree. Coffee plantations, sugarcane plantations, then because population is rising, urbanization is also rising. Okay, infrastructure is expanding. You have to build roads, bridges. For that you have to clear forests. And mining, minerals, demand for minerals is increasing. Mining activities have expanded. And when there are more people, there is demand for more wood also, wood. That is why logging activities have also increased, which is causing deforestation. Now, why do these causes exist? What are the underlying causes? Why agriculture is expanding? Why commercial crops are expanding? Why urbanization is expanding? Well, there are four underlying causes. First of all, population growth. That is why there is high demand for agriculture. Then economy is expanding. That is why there is high demand for urbanization, infrastructure. Then, well, poverty. Because there are many poor areas. These poor areas depend on agriculture. And certain areas like Northeast, they depend on slash and burn agriculture, where they burn down the forest and sow crops on it. This is one reason. And natural fires, artificial fires, they are also causing deforestation. Okay, natural fires have increased because of global warming. Okay, so cause and effect relationship. So these are the underlying causes. All right, now let's quickly shift our focus to third news item, and that is very simple, very short. Guinness World Records. You all know whenever there is a world record, like the tallest man, the shortest man, the biggest group of people singing, all sorts of stupid or not so stupid records, world records, are listed down in this list called Guinness Book of World Records, right? Guinness Book of World Records. Once your event is listed as Guinness Book of World Records, it becomes a prestigious thing, okay? It comes with a lot of prestige. But when did it all start? So this year, Guinness Book of World Records has completed 70 years. It started in 1955, and from then onwards, it became the most prestigious book when it comes to world records. So we won't get that much into the history of Guinness Book of World Records, okay? Basically, just remember it was started by Irish people, Ireland, people from Ireland, okay? Because Guinness is a brewing company, alcohol company. Nonetheless, the thing is, we'll definitely talk about the criteria for inclusion into Guinness Book of World Records. And recently so, Guinness Book of World Records is being criticized for various ethical reasons. So we will first talk about the criteria and then we will talk about the criticism. Okay, because that is what is important for you, because you're a UPSC aspirant after all, right? So as a civil services aspirant, this information is more important for you rather than history. How did it start? What's the story behind it? That's not important. Just remember it started in 1955 and it has completed 70 years in 2025. Okay, so let's begin. So Guinness World Records started in 1955 in Ireland by Irish people basically. Okay, now what is the criteria? Look, currently Guinness Book of World Records, they say that they have 75 adjudicators all over the world, and there is a proper application process. So for example, let's suppose you are performing an event and you are saying that I am going to conduct the highest jump ever. So that is a world record. Now, if you want to get your name listed in Guinness Book of World Records, then what you have to do is first make an application to Guinness Book of World Records. This application will go to their company or organization. They will send one adjudicator to this event where you will perform the highest jump. And if that adjudicator certifies that yes, this is a world record, then your name will get listed. Okay, so there is a proper elaborate process. But what is the criteria? Which events, not all world records, could be listed as world records? Okay, what is the criteria? So, first of all, the criteria is anything, it should be objectively measurable. Okay, it should be measurable. Like, for example, there is a world record for memorizing the most lines. Okay, so that is measurable. But if you say I'm the most kind person, there is no way to measure that. So that is not a world record. Okay, so it should be objectively measurable. It should be breakable also. Okay, if you are genetically blessed, okay, let's suppose you are genetically blessed and you do something, that won't be a world record. It should be possible for humans. It should be standardizable. It should be verifiable. It should be based on only one variable. It should be the best in the world. These are some of the standards. Now let's talk about criticism. Okay, the biggest criticism was levied in 2008. And you know what the criticism was? Some of these authoritarian countries, dictatorships, they are organizing events like the largest singing choir or the highest jump, all these. They are organizing these events to basically improve the publicity of their country, improve the publicity of that dictator. And Guinness Book of World Records is participating in that. That happened in Egypt, that happened in Gulf countries, that happened in Turkmenistan also. These are all dictatorships, but they basically wanted good publicity. So they were organizing these stupid world records. And Guinness was basically participating in all of that. It was actually promoting that. So that is one thing. It promotes authoritarian regimes. Okay. The other thing is that Guinness Book of World Records is basically incentivizing risky behavior. People want their name to be listed in this. That is why they are willing to take the biggest risk that is possible. It harms human health. So that is one thing. Okay. Most burgers eaten by a person in 1 hour. That is a record. Okay. So this is risky behavior. So that is the entire thing. Okay, that's about it. That's all as far as this third topic is concerned. And now let's shift our focus to fourth news item, and that is H-1B visa debate. Okay, now listen to me carefully. Okay, you see, the thing is that US is the land of tech innovation. All the big tech companies who have done a lot of technological innovation are based out of USA. Now, these tech companies require skilled people, right? Skilled workers. Now, most of these tech companies in the early 1980s and 90s, they complained that they can't find these skilled workers in America. Okay, the American workforce, they are unable to find skilled workers in the American workforce. Okay, so that is why they requested their government, and the government created a provision for them. They can hire foreign workers who are highly skilled. Foreign workers who are highly skilled, bring them to USA so that they can work for their company. Okay, for that, a special visa category was created, and that was called H-1B visa. The purpose was that these companies who are unable to find skilled workers in American workforce can hire foreign workers temporarily. Again, the idea is temporarily. Can hire foreign workers temporarily to basically contribute towards their company. Clear? This was H-1B visas. And these H-1B visas came out as a boon for Indians because there are many skilled Indian workers. Okay? And they are ready for any opportunity, the biggest opportunity that is possible. These big companies in USA offer these opportunities. So Do you know what? 70% of H1B visa holders in America are Indians. China is just 12 to 13%. The biggest benefactor of this visa program, well, it's Indians. 70% Indians get this visa. Okay, sorry, this sentence was wrongly framed. 70% of H1B visas are given to Indians. Indians are the biggest benefactor of this. But now, many racist or let's say people who are not happy with immigration, they are opposing these H1B visas. They are saying that American companies are giving more opportunities to foreigners than to Americans. Okay, and this is wrong. America first is our policy. That's the mantra for Donald Trump's administration. America first. So why are we giving these good jobs to Indians or any other foreigner? We should reserve these good jobs for Americans. So H1B visa program, many right wingers are saying, well, it's a scam, it's a fraud on American people and we should stop it. Because of this, many Indians are pouring in and we are not getting the good jobs. Basically, that is why one section of America is criticizing this. So there is this huge debate, either to reduce H1B visas given in 1 year or to scrap it altogether. So we will talk about H1B visas, some important key features about it. Okay. So H1B visa debate. So this visa category was created by Immigration Act 1990 and the idea was, well, helping employers who cannot otherwise obtain needed business skills and abilities from US workforce. So they can hire foreign workers. On this visa. Okay, the eligibility criteria, who can get this visa? First of all, you need to, if I'm an Indian and I need H1B visa, I need to have a valid job offer from an American company. I need to prove that I'm highly skilled. So I need to have at least have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or equivalent experience of skill. Remember, this visa category is for highly skilled people, highly skilled professionals. Great genius architects, genius scientists, genius researchers, genius engineers, all that, genius doctors. US employer also has to prove to US government that we can't find these workers in America and that is why we are looking for Indian workers, right? Remember one thing, because they can trap you in MCQs. It is a non-immigrant visa category where applicants are selected via lottery system. So every year USA releases 85,000 of these visas. Okay, 85,000 of these visas are released and remember 70% are Indians. And this is for highly skilled jobs, high paying jobs. Okay, so that is the thing. By the way, in your notes, there are some features of H1B visas. Do read them out because an MCQ might be created out of it. For example, an H1B visa is valid for 3 years, but you can get a 3-year extension. After the extension, your visa expires, but you can get a new visa, new H1B visa and go on like this. So this is there. 85,000 visas are issued every year, of which 65,000 are normal and 20,000 H1B visas are for highly skilled PhD people. Okay. So any H1B visa holder after serving the visa term can apply for green card or permanent residency in USA. Many Indians do that. All these things are there. Okay. One more thing is mentioned in your notes and that is Indians and H1B visa. Okay. How important H1B visas are for Indians. So do check that out as well. Okay. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. Plus, you do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. I guess you know this already by now. Nonetheless, that would be all from my side, guys. I'll see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.